I never know how to start these things off. Hi YouTube. Hello YouTube. I'm Nyiddle, and this is a tutorial for Silent Hill 2 Enhanced Edition. So, first thing I want to run through is the config stuff. Let me just get a window capture. For the most part, it's pretty straightforward for Enhanced Edition. I assume by this point you have installed the base version of the game and Enhanced Edition over it. Your config window might look a little different from mine if you're watching this in the future, the near future, because there's a new version coming up soon. Pretty much everything here is fine. You can leave all these settings as they are. The one... Yo, Clef, you're watching it in the past. We got a time traveler. I'm just going to click through all these settings. For D-pad, it's up to you. You can either have D-pad disabled, or you can have D-pad as a button, or as both. I just have it on movement. So if you want to bind stuff to D-pad buttons, that is an option, if depending on the controller you're going to be using. For my runs, I use an Xbox Series wireless controller. You can use whatever you want. This run isn't really specific by any means. Can I get a large, yeah, I'm hesitating a lot. So you could set that on movement. The one setting that we actually care about is... Where is it? Fix save load issues. You don't want this setting checked. If you have this setting checked, you won't be able to do the quick save, quick load strats that we're going to be doing. So that's probably the most important one. The other one that is kind of optional, health indicator. You can, if you're going to be using the health indicator for one of the skips, then you can have it on. I like to have it on. If you don't need it, then you can have it off. It's totally optional. Everything else, pretty much up to you. I would recommend at the bare minimum, you want to be running the game at 60 FPS, because that's going to make all the doors load a lot faster and pretty much all the transitions. You'll also get the benefit of 60 FPS in the menus, which will make all of your interactions a bit faster. So you can pause the video and look over these settings as you need. There's also screenshots of settings in the SRC Discord for this game. If you just look at the pinned messages, you'll find it. The other thing I want to talk about before we open up the game is Lucky Hill. So you'll probably want to download this. I'll put a link in the description for this, as well as a link for Enhanced Edition, obviously. Let me just capture this. So Lucky Hill. What this is, basically, is it gives us all of the possible codes for the frames. It's up to you whether you want to skip looking at the codes for your runs. If you want to look at the codes, you totally can. But if you're going for optimal times, you're going to want to use Lucky Hill or just generate your own sheet. So here's what we're looking at here. The important thing... Yo, Jason, how's it going? The important thing is you're going to want to go into the settings, and for Enhanced Edition, set your upper frame bound. I can't capture this window, I don't think. Set it to... I have mine at 250 from experimenting, but you can probably have it about 200. And you want to make sure that the result columns have the appropriate things checked. So make sure that you can see everything. You don't really need bug room or faces. I just have these on here from testing things. But the ones that we really care about are frame, clock, blood, carbon, arsonist, and suitcase. You'll care about faces if you're running hard difficulty. But this is just for new game, any difficulty. Although most of the strats kind of apply to all categories. So with this, we'll be able to look at the clock and figure out what seed we're on. And by figuring out the seed that we're on, we'll then be able to know what the codes are without having to actually check the codes. So get Lucky Hill, get up and running with it. First few runs, you might not end up on a viable seed because you're starting the game too slow or something like that. We'll go into that a little bit later. So just be set up and ready to go with that if you want to do that. It's up to you. Let me launch the game so we can go over some game settings. There are some important buttons that we're going to want bound that are not by default in the PC version. And again, your menu might look a little different depending on when you're playing this. Control options. So important buttons. Obviously, we're going to want action and cancel. I have those on just A and B. Skip is going to be the button that you're going to be using to skip cutscenes and also pause the game. So you want that on something that's easy to hit. For run/guard, this button actually is important. You're going to want this on something either on your controller or on your keyboard. This is kind of a hybrid run. We're going to be switching between controller and keyboard every now and then. So I just have it on left shift and I move my controller over and I press left shift. You're going to want to have your hands on your controller while you press left shift or whatever your button is. Make sure that's set to something. Search mode is going to be important too because we're going to be shifting the camera around. Inventory is obviously just your inventory. You're going to want something bound on map, not because we're going to be looking at the map, but because you're going to need to open it for some skips. As well as being able to turn off your light is also important for this run. So make sure you have that bound to something that you remember. And the most important one here really is quick save. So quick save, you're going to want it bound probably both on your keyboard, on a key that you can hit easily, as well as on your controller, on a button that you're going to be willing to hit easily. So I have it on X. It's up to you what you want it on. I've seen people put it on left trigger. It's just a matter of preference. So controller settings, relatively straightforward, but there's a few important ones in there that you need to hit. So for this run, let me just show, we're going to be on beginner and normal. I'm going to restart the game, and it's important for the purpose of getting the right seed that you restart the game, you wait out the splash screens, and then you get into the new game as soon as possible. So you essentially want to start mashing as soon as you have control, because that is going to determine what seed you land on. So we want it to be within that 200 frame range. We don't want to like let it run to frame 500, because that's going to make it a lot harder to figure out what clock we actually got, because there are duplicate clocks on the seed chart. So yeah. Let's start the game for realsies. In terms of your live split settings, also, this is going to be manual splitting. The timer sticks with whatever the in-game time is. So when you quick save and quick load, you'll actually notice the timer roll back. That's because the timer for in-game works more or less perfectly. So the live split timer is basically just tied directly to that. I use most cutscenes as my split points. It's up to you where you want to split. If you have a foot pedal or something like that, then you can actually split in a lot more places, I'd say. But yeah, basically planning it around anywhere where the timer is paused is kind of ideal so that you can be more consistent with it. Yo, Diggs, what's up? Yeah, that I strongly recommend splitting during cutscenes if you can. You can also do it during certain door transitions and door loads. I do one of those or two of those splits. But yeah, it's also really easy to miss those splits, so you want to be careful. So I'm going to boot up the game. We're going to wait out the splash screens, and then as soon as we get control in the main menu, we're going to skip through, and we'll start explaining the run proper. All right? Let me just get this captured. We wait. And then as soon as we get control, go down to new game, and start. And the timer should auto start, and at the very least, you should have the timer running at the very beginning of the run, so you can make sure that the timer is working. Underneath the smaller number, just for my timer, I have the RTA. It's up to you if you want to display that. And live split is required for submissions for the PC version of this game. So first things first, we're gonna skip this cutscene and get out of the bathroom. And we're gonna run outside. That bit of movement there, which I just messed up, is actually really hard to get, and that's gonna be something that we're gonna talk about a lot. Movement is really, really important in this run. You do want to have your settings. Let me just skip this cutscene and show that. You do want to have your settings on directional. You don't want to be playing on tank controls. You're gonna be bumping into a lot of stuff. I mean, like, you can if you really want to, but you're just gonna have natural time loss on not being able to move as efficiently. So we're gonna come up here to our first instance of text storage. What text storage essentially allows us to do is when we inspect the side of the car, and you can inspect it actually pretty far, you can be like as far as the window, sort of. You want to be kind of, you don't need to be like in the middle of the car. What we can do when there's text on screen is by saving the game, and my camera is kind of blocking the text, but you can see it's there. By saving the game, we can actually store the text on the screen. So right now, no matter what I do, the text is on the screen. If I let go of game saved, the text will disappear. Also, when we go to pick up the text, you don't want to move too soon. You want to make sure you pick up the text, save, and then start moving. If you pick up the text and then you start moving, the text disappears. Any input will cancel the text on screen. So if you're having trouble with text storage, just make sure you're neutral on the analog stick. You want to pick it up and start running, but you don't want to like preemptively cancel the text before you start running. So we're going to grab this text, and the reason for that is because we're actually going to skip the trigger and head straight down here. Now, before I actually do that, let me explain something. Once you get around, like, you know, past James's visible point, you actually want to let go of the text. And whenever I say let go of the text, I mean basically press A or any input that... press A, or whatever your confirm input is, to drop the text off the screen. And the reason for that is because when we have text stored on the screen, there are no checkpoints or load zones that we can hit. Also, enemies despawn and objects despawn, but we'll get into that later. So if we just hold this text and run down here, we can run indefinitely. So you want to try and drop the text as efficiently as possible once you hit the load zone to hit there. Okay, that was a lot for the very first area, but it's a lot simpler here. So now we're just going to be running for a while. You'll notice that I'm saving the game. I have this actually bound to a turbo button. It's not mashing it, it's just pressing it at a rhythmic pace. But if you don't have a turbo, or if you don't want to set that up through Steam input or something like that, you could just tap every now and then. As long as James doesn't go about 20 steps without a game saved, he won't run out of stamina. So we're running at full stamina for pretty much the whole run. Whenever we're outdoors and James has the ability to run out of stamina, I'll just run out of stamina to show that. You'll notice he runs a lot slower, and we don't want that. Actually, James still hasn't ran out of stamina. Hang on. Let me just... There we go. So you can see he runs, like, I want to say 25% slower with no stamina. We're going to come up here. This is going to be one of the trickier first instances of the camera, right? So if you pay attention to the gamepad, when I run up here, I'm going to go through this gate, and if I keep holding up, which is the logical direction to hold, James is just instantly going to turn around. And this behaves a little bit differently in the vanilla original version. It works slightly different with how fast the camera is and how it takes every update from your analog stick. So, first instance of flipping the analog stick around so that we can then continue on our way. You'll also probably want to rotate the camera. It's up to you. I've seen runners just run down like this, but usually here I'll rotate the camera, and to do that you just press the search view button and hope that the camera doesn't do exactly what it just did. Sometimes in the enhanced edition it'll snap around. That's another difference that you'll notice with the enhanced edition, but ideally it just rotates around like that and we can head into this cutscene. So there's a really minor skip I'm going to explain before we get to Angela. It might seem like a lot, but it gets a little easier after this. If we spam our pause button or our skip cutscene button as we get into this cutscene, and I don't know if I'm actually going to get it, there's a chance we skip the white fade in that happens before this cutscene. It saves maybe like half a second or so, but it is worth mentioning, and it's not super consistent. Like, it's not something that you're going to get all the time. I think I made a quick save. Let me just load. It goes without saying, you should also have something bound on your quick save button as well. I don't know if I mentioned that. Let me just see if I can force it. So if you kind of mash the skip... No, I can't get it. Yo, Cap, we're actually, we're doing a tutorial right now. So you're going to want to get out of this cutscene as soon as possible. Once you do, we're just going to run over here. Again, you want to be quick saving through this area, because I'm not sure if the graveyard itself you'll run out of stamina, but in this next area, you'll definitely run out of stamina. And once again, we're going to rotate the camera, just so that it's easier to navigate here. And this is a good time to talk about taking optimal lines. This is something that you'll figure out as you play the game, but let me just go through there again so I can explain it. You don't want to stick to the curves super hard. You want to kind of go in as straight of a line. It goes without saying, but it really makes a big difference over the course of the run. It seems minor, and when you're figuring out to control James, you know, it's a little bit wobbly at first, but you want to kind of just pilot him in the straightest possible line so that you're kind of like following the optimal path to things. We're coming up to the chainsaw here. This is going to be important for this run. You may notice it's a new game run. It's not a new game plus run, but we are picking up the chainsaw. The reason for this is because even in beginner difficulty, if it's your first playthrough, the chainsaw still spawns. The chainsaw always spawns on beginner difficulty. It's technically not a new game plus item. So we're going to pick up the chainsaw. You could opt to not pick up the chainsaw and just grab the melee weapon. I don't know. That's kind of like the old school route that I learned with, but I would recommend picking up the chainsaw these days. And we're going to come through here. Again, optimal lines, trying to cut the corners so that we're taking these lines sort of like shallow and not like, you don't want to be like sticking to the wall and then doing like the right angle turn. You don't want to do that. You want to try and take the shallow optimal line to get to the destination, like a nice wide diagonal like that. Yo, Abby and Edelson, what's up? How's it going? All right. This is the first big instance of text storage. We have to hold this text for a long time. And this is a good time to mention, when you're storing text, you do have to mash the quick save button. Not like mash it, but you'll inevitably end up mashing it because you don't want to drop the text. That's why I kind of recommend a turbo button. We're going to be saving like 2,000 times by the end of this run easily. So what we're going to do... Yo, hell yeah, dopamine. That's awesome. Dopamine is the reason I'm kind of making this video right now. So, yeah. Essentially, what we're going to do is when we come through that gate, we're going to turn around here and inspect this as quickly as we can and store this text. And we're going to have this text on screen for a long, long time. We're just going to start running along with this text. That's another weird camera angle. You'll notice I'm holding down on the analog stick, even though James is running up, like opposite to the camera, right? At some point, you can flick the stick to get control of James, but in instances like that, it's not optimal. You have to contradict what your brain is going to want to do, because your brain is going to want to rotate the stick in a way to orient James correctly, and you'll end up doing a spin like that. You want to try and avoid doing that, but it'll inevitably happen on your sort of first runs. James is a little bit wiggly. Again, we're just taking a nice shallow line, and you're going to be quick saving here to keep the text. And we're doing this so that way we can skip sort of the first major trigger point in this game, other than the map, which we skipped at the very beginning. And that's this bloodstain here. This bloodstain is a trigger for us to go do the first encounter and sort of get the plank. We don't want to do that. It's really slow. It takes a long time. So by storing this text, we actually skip that trigger. What's interesting is the trigger is still active. At any point in the run, if we go back to that area without storing text, we will trigger that. Once you get around that corner, you're good to drop the text. You can drop it almost a little bit earlier than that. It's sort of up to you where you want to drop it. But we do still want to be quick saving here because stamina. But yeah, that trigger... It is always active, so keep that in mind, because we will have to run past that trigger 2 more times in the run, and we'll have to do some text storage in that case too. And we're gonna come over here, we're gonna grab the key. You can actually sort of grab that from farther away. You don't want to be quick saving when you go to grab items. It's sort of an important lesson that you'll learn pretty quick. So you want to try and drop that text before you actually get up to the body so that you can pick it up at the farthest possible interaction point. But again, that's like, you'll learn that as you do the run. You'll feel the time loss and you'll be like, oh, guess I shouldn't do that. It's good to experiment though. You don't really need to be quick saving as much as I am. You can be pretty generous with the quick saves. The only time you do have to kind of care about the quick saves is when you're storing text. So we're going to come past here. We're going to come past that ammo, heal. And we are going to head to the apartments. Yo, the block puzzle and skip. Let me boot up Skibbity Backroom so I can explain that block puzzle to you real quick. Hombre. So we're going to come up here. You want to sort of mash to get through that interaction as fast as possible. And that's usually where I do my first split, as I'm coming through that door. Something to note, you do not need to save when you're indoors here. Sometimes you'll see me do it. It's just a habit from playing hard. But you don't need to do it in this difficulty. So, that little bit of movement, I should explain. It's a little tricky. You want to come into this room, and you want to start holding down. It's not going to be the same because I already triggered it, which sucks. And as soon as you pick up the flashlight, you want to hold up. And once you get out of that door, you want to hold left. Something that you'll also learn about the movement very quickly is you're going to basically want to memorize where doors put James when you get out of them. There is an important aspect to that called instant acceleration, but that's more of like a optimized higher level concept that you don't have to worry about when you're first learning to run. Also, Isangeki, thank you for the follow. So we're going to do the same here, run in, grab the flashlight. Something I should explain, because I'm not going to be doing it all the time, but you want to be hitting doors on their corners. Ideally, you know, you can interact with the door almost anywhere, like here, but if you can, you want to be hitting the door. This is a bad door to show as an example because you'll inspect the wall, but you want to hit basically at the farthest possible distance that you can for the hitbox. It's something that you'll get used to, and you just want to do it for all doors. We're gonna come up here, grab this key. I'm gonna take a sip of beverage. Skip that cutscene, and then we're gonna immediately head through this door. Again, I'm quick saving, I don't necessarily need to. So right here, there's gonna be a trigger when we get to the end of this hallway, and normally, if we're not quick saving, James stands perfectly still. So we're gonna come right here and start quick saving. You wanna kind of be mashing for that one. You wanna be inputting a lot of quick saves. And you're gonna notice that James doesn't stand still. Now, when we get here, you'll notice Pyramid Head's there, but he's not lit, and we can't interact with this door. This door is broken. So we're effectively soft locked. The way to get out of this, and this is why I mentioned it, you want to press the walk button. As soon as I press the walk button, you'll see Pyramid Head lights up, and we can interact with the door. So we essentially go into a little soft lock state because we skipped the trigger there, and in order to get out of that, you press the walk button. That's why it's nice to have it on something semi-convenient. So we're gonna come back down here. You can flip the camera around in that hallway if you're comfortable with it. It flips very quickly. We're gonna come through here. This is a very tricky room to get without James spinning around. I'll just show you. Yeah. I'll just show you a nice example. So when you come through, you want to be kind of firm with the direction that you're going in. You don't want the camera angle to trick your brain into pressing something different. So as long as you go in and you hold the same angle, you'll be able to get to the interaction point clean. If you go in and as soon as the camera angle changes, you try and shift your analog stick, James will start spinning around in circles and do all sorts of crazy shit. It's a really good example of that, but there's a lot of instances of that in the run. That's another, coming out of this door, again, you want to be holding the same camera angle until you get out of the door, otherwise you'll do that. So you come out of the door and then you flick up to take control. Yo, Arkham, how's it going? I haven't even mentioned the random camera angles yet. I totally forgot to mention that, but we'll go over that soon. We're gonna come back up here, and this is where you'll find out the clock time. I'll just show you now. For your first runs, when you maybe aren't as comfortable with what seed range you're gonna be in, you don't know what clock times they're gonna be, it's taking you forever to read the damn clock, because reading a clock under pressure just kind of sucks. If you just interact with the clock itself without putting in the key, it'll actually just tell you the clock time, which is nice. So we know that we're on 8:30, which is actually a really good seed. You may know, but the solution of this puzzle is 9:10. So ideally, the closer we are to 9:10, the better. This is also our first interaction. So let me just show, when we come in here, we're gonna run up to the clock as best as we can. It's a hard camera angle to hit. Also, Buster, what's up? And as soon as you get to the clock, you're gonna want to interact. Now, since this is enhanced edition, the inventory is fast, like really, really fast. But if you hold the left analog stick, sort of the same frame that you hit the inventory button, you can get a super nice scroll to the item that you want. So if you do that, you'll go straight to the item, almost too fast. But if you you'll notice if you press the inventory button and then you start scrolling, you get that little delay. It's not a lot in the enhanced edition, but it still matters. It starts moving and then it stops. For your first runs, you'll probably want to just manually just knock it over maybe. But if you want to get fast with it, you go like that. So we're going to open the clock and we're going to set it to 9:10. Pop. Perfect. And we're going to run around the side and push the clock. Now, this is a good time. I'll explain it during the next cutscene, because that's usually when I check my RNG. We're going to come up here. Oh, we're going to bonk into the stairs, because I'm an idiot. And we're going to flip the camera angle around by using the search view button. And head into here. And this is usually when I check my RNG. Since it's the enhanced edition, we can alt-tab safely, relatively. And I'll just show my lucky hill. So we got 830. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to type 830. I can see that that's frame 124. So now I know we're on this seed specifically, and I know what our puzzle solutions are going to be. So boom, that's easy. I can just keep that on my other monitor. Whatever. Easy enough. Yo, Bobo. We're going to grab this key. That movement is different in the OG. Because Isangeki, thank you for the follow. In the OG, we appear a little bit out of the closet. In the Enhanced Edition, they fixed that, and we're facing pretty much right where we need to be. So you're just going to hold down to pick up that key, and then run around the corner, head out the door. Then we're going to come back this way. Do not forget this key. We're going to come over here, grab the key that Laura kicked earlier. And it's up to you. You don't need to, but I like to flip the camera around here. Again, in Enhanced Edition, you have to be a little bit careful about flipping the camera to avoid James wandering off in a random direction. But it's up to you. These stairs. So I should explain. On the OG... Isangeki. On the OG, you run James completely off the camera on these stairs. You can't see him at all. On Enhanced Edition, we have the luxury of fast camera. James is on the camera the entire time. We never lose sight of him. So it's a lot easier to hit. But for these stairs, you just want to know that you want to be tight to the railing. You don't want to be like out here, and you don't want to take it too wide, and you don't want to take it too close because you'll hit the railing. So you just kind of want to, like, you know, hit him with the Sunderland grind along the railing. We're gonna come up here, pick up the juice. It's important. Yeah, I can talk about the boat. I will definitely talk about the boat. I'm hopefully gonna cover everything. Speaking of covering everything, this is a great example of random camera angles. So you'll notice when you come out of this door, your instinct will be, right, I have to hold down and left because that's the direction that James has to go, right? If we try that, James is going to run into the fucking hedge. We don't want that. So for these doors, and you're going to find a few of them throughout the run, the best advice I have is to wiggle as you're loading into the next area. So if you look at my analog stick input, when I go through here, I kind of wiggle the stick. And when you do that, you'll notice James actually faces in the direction that it's intended. And the reason for this is because some complex, crazy nonsense. But when James enters a door, there's a certain calculation that's done based on where the camera is as he's entering the door and where he is in perspective to the camera once he's exited the door. So if you really wanted to, like, nerd out, you could actually figure out the correct direction to hold for the random camera angles. I don't recommend doing that. I recommend just wiggling as you go through the door. It's a lot easier, and you'll end up with James going the right way. Yeah, just give your stick a little wiggle, you know? It'll be good. Here, I never know if you have to quick save or not, so I always quick save here. We're gonna come upstairs and put the juice in the chute. This is an optional part. Not the juice chute, but we're gonna come up here and put the juice in the chute. Whether you do this in this specific order or you do this in the other order is totally up to you. But the way, it's the same amount of time either way. The way I do it is after I put the juice in the chute, I go outside and I grab the coin, and then I go talk to Eddie. You'll see a lot of other runners, they talk to Eddie first. That was a nice camera angle. And then go grab the coin before they go through the fire escape. I should have mentioned something there. So what I did there was I skipped the text. And the way I did that was as soon as the text appeared on screen, I pressed the quick save button. Ideally, you don't even see the text. There is no text on screen. So as soon as you start that interaction, you want to basically press both buttons at the same time, and you should get out of that text quickly. Otherwise, you could just mash through it if you need to. It's up to you. This door is also another random camera angle. So you'll notice if you hold up... I said that, and now I wonder if I'm wrong. I thought that door was a random camera angle, but for some reason it wasn't right there. When you go through this door, you'll be holding up. You want to keep holding up and then flick your stick to the right to move James. You can also wiggle down if you want, but it's up to you. Let me explain what I just did there. So when James falls down, you can change your weapons to mitigate the animation a little bit. You don't want to mash it. You just want to press it one time when James sort of hits. So right there, that's when you press it. Otherwise, James gets the long stumbling animation, which on hard, you actually can't avoid that animation. So it's a really simple just up, tap, and James gets right back up, and he's good to go. And we'll use that like 2 more times throughout the run. It's very minor, but good to know. We're gonna come through here. We're not gonna do that. You're not gonna do that spin move. I would recommend doing it more visually. Yeah, you'll feel it. If you press the button too many times, you can just repeatedly like fall forward. Don't do that. Just press it once, and either you got it a little too early or you got it a little too late. I wouldn't worry about it. We're gonna come in here. We're gonna talk to Eddie. Hi, Eddie. Hi, Eddie. Come back out here. Again, your route may differ here. We're gonna hold down. I always do a wiggle there. I don't know if it's necessary. This door is a random camera angle, so definitely wiggle. You saw James was like facing the wall for a second. I'm gonna come back up here. This might be the part where you go grab the coin outside, depending on what you want to do. And we're gonna head over to the fire escape. And this is where I do my second split. This cutscene does pause the timer, but not once the text appears on screen. So you'll notice the timer's paused. When the text appears on screen, eventually the timer unpauses. So it's not a huge rush, but you want to skip that cutscene at some point. Getting through that window, also another random camera angle. You're gonna wiggle. All these interior hallways, not random. So you can reliably hold left to get down the staircase, and then you can flick to the right to get around. Stairs are gonna be a big struggle for anybody learning this run for the first time. It's just something that you kind of have to feel out and get used to. So we're going to talk to Angela. As soon as we get out of this cutscene, we're just facing the coin, so you can kind of just mash A out of that cutscene, and then quickly flick up to get out. And we're going to come over here. And this is an important time to talk about inventory. So you're going to run in this room and angle James here. This is a huge pain point for a lot of people, because what can happen is if you go to... Whatever item you ever need to interact with will always be to the left in this run. It's very straightforward in that way. Your newest item always ends up as the last item in your inventory, and it's always going to be the items that we need to use. So, very simple to remember. You want to hold left as you're going into the inventory, but not too soon. Otherwise, you'll go to interact, and it looks like I can't use that here. And you can even see it in the camera. Sometimes you can't, but basically we tilted too early, and James is now facing entirely the wrong way. So it's something that you'll kind of learn through just kind of feeling it out. But you want to... Oh, it sucks that I don't have like the gaps in my inventory because I did that. You want to basically interact, wait a second, or not even a second. You want to wait like a frame. It's very tight in the Enhanced Edition, and then start interacting, and you'll be able to use it. So the order here is Old Man goes in 2, and you'll notice I was pressing escape to get out of that fade out early. I'll do the next one without it, just for example. But if you don't press escape, and it's important that you press escape for this. Obviously, we're using the mouse for these puzzles, so it's pretty easy to shift to mouse and keyboard for this part. If you don't press escape, you get this long fade out animation like that. And that prevents us from interacting. It's again a minor time save, but something that you want to kind of get optimal. So what we're going to do is we're going to interact, we're going to get control, put the coin in, start pressing escape, and that way we skip the fade out You don't need to do it on the last one. I was just doing it as an example. You only need to do it on the first two. And once we've done the puzzle, we just press A to grab the key, and we head back up the stairs. All right. What have I already missed? I feel like I've already missed something. For this door, this is a really hard room to get right. There's no way I can explain this in words. But basically, you kind of want to do it like that. I don't... There's so many camera angle changes in this room that it always fucks people up, because you get to that part and you're like, oh fuck, like where do I go now? I've seen people like run in and out of this section like 5 times before being like, oh shit, like please just let me in. So a lot of this is just flicking the stick. So you want to be firm and just flick as you get to the camera angle change, so that you're reorienting James according to the direction that the camera is pointing in. So flick, and then you can do another flick and not run into the wall. And then we just head back to the door. All good. And we're heading into Pyramid Head. So, assuming you skipped the falling animation in the pool, at this point you have your pistol out. We want to switch out to the chainsaw for Pyramid Head. So, what we can do is, you'll notice when James switches weapons while he's running, he kind of like stops. So it's not efficient to switch out weapons on the fly. As we're entering this door, you want to switch weapons. You won't even see James do it most of the time, but... Oh, well, you saw him do it that time. You want to switch as you're interacting with the door, just so that you don't have to deal with that animation. So, this fight's really simple. We're going to run up to Pyramid Head, actually, and just kind of chainsaw him in the balls, and then just run in the corner. Pyramid Head is still active during this fight. If you block his path, he'll attack you, as many people have probably learned casually. So you want to kind of get out of the way as soon as possible so he doesn't start an attack animation. But yeah, that fight, it was more simple than I made it look. Let me just do it one more time. So we're gonna, in a real run, you're gonna be running this way, you're gonna run through the door, you switch out your chainsaw, you run up to Pyramid Head, you face him the correct way, and you saw him. Congratulations. If you've made it this far, you've made it out of apartments. Guys, do you think this is gonna PB? And at this point, you can switch back to your pistol. It doesn't really matter. You can have your chainsaw out. It's not too important. There used to be a theory that having different weapons out changed James's run speed, but I don't think that's true. It does change his speed on the boat, but not his run speed. So these stairs are a little tricky with the camera angle. And then for this, that door is also a random camera angle. So you're going to want to wiggle out of that door. And once we get back outside, we're going to want to start quick saving again. And again, just trying to take nice, clean lines. We're going to skip this cutscene. And coming up here, you're going to want to quick save going into this cutscene, because we actually get control of James when we're not supposed to during this cutscene. And we get control of him faster than we would otherwise. So coming into this cutscene, just quick save, and you can just run James off. And it's kind of funny, because the cutscene keeps playing. If you press the skip cutscene button, we'll go back to James, but... And we're gonna round the corner. And... Mary. And this is where I usually do my Maria skip. Yo, Bordaci. Yeah, this is a double PB right here. Get out of this cutscene. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but the IGT works great in this game, and most cutscenes will pause the timer. So you get plenty of time to goof around with chat, or, you know, have a sip of your beverage of choice. I have an orange cream seltzer here. Delicious. And we're gonna come out here. If you were doing dog ending, I might as well cover it. The main difference with dog ending is you would run here, and the doghouse isn't here because this is technically a first playthrough. But if the doghouse were here, you would pick up the doghouse from there, the key from the doghouse, and you would be on your way. In our case, we're gonna round that corner a little bit nicer for New Game Any difficulty, just so we can end up in a straight line towards the bowling alley. There is also a metal pipe sticking out of the car. If we were doing other categories, we might want that, because we would need a melee weapon at some point. We have the chainsaw as a melee weapon, so we don't need the metal pipe. if you're doing another category where you want it or whatever, go for it. We're gonna skip this cutscene, and again, hard camera movement here. You want to kind of round the corner, and that camera feels very different in the enhanced edition compared to the OG. You'll notice in the OG it's a lot like snappier with James's movement. James almost like 90-degree turns around that table. In the enhanced edition, you're kind of forced to do like a wide U-turn sort of. Also, thank you for the follow, Isan Genki. So, iconic cutscene. You can watch it in your playthrough. We're gonna run through here. We're gonna hold kind of a down diagonal angle for that. Now, this is something I actually only recently just learned. Either way you run, we're gonna get the Maria cutscene. It's actually less time to run to the right to trigger it, almost as a way of the developer saying like, hey, Goofus, don't run that way. So if we run to the left, it's like a tiny bit slower. But if you run to the right, you barely even get past the phone booth, and you get the cutscene, and we can continue on our way. And again, quick saving all through here. You don't need to be mashing it. We're not storing text. You can just quick save casually. We're gonna head through here. We're gonna run up to trigger this cutscene. And then we're gonna run down. And Heaven's Night,
it's no good,
is, I keep saying this, really, really hard camera movement. So I'll explain it from this door. So when you get in here, James is gonna be facing the wrong way. So the first thing you want to do is sort of wiggle him up so that you can actually get him to go up the stairs. So we go like that. It's not even an up angle. It's actually more of a diagonal left. Yeah, it's like a diagonal left to swivel him up. And then these stairs are notorious for that. So when you get to this part, it's going to be counterintuitive. You want to make sure you're firm with your wiggle so that James actually turns around. Let me do it from the top. Maria's like, "What the fuck are you doing, James?" So we're gonna come in here. We're gonna run into the wall. Come in here, wiggle up and left, and then when we get up here, we're gonna go like this, and then down. It's very counterintuitive, and it's hard to even explain with words, but you'll know when you do it. Coming out of that door, you're going to want to be holding up and then flick the stick to the left to get control of James again. That door has pretty consistent movement, where when most of the time when you go into it, you'll be able to hold the stick up in order to get out clean. This is where I usually do my split for Reached Hospital. We're going to come in here, another random camera angle out of that door. A lot of the entering buildings have random camera angles. So I didn't explain it well before, but you'll notice as soon as the text appears on screen, and you want to do this as fast as possible, you can press quick save and the text all disappears. All like 6 of those dialogues are gone. So the way that you'll do that optimally is you want to be pressing quick save as you interact, sort of at the same time. You want to do a AX action. This is another section where you can actually do this in either order. You could go get the key first and then come around the corner and get the shotgun and the bent needle. You could go get the bent needle first and then go around and get the key. I always get the bent needle first. I don't know why, it just makes sense to me. And these doors, you can interact with these doors without the camera angle actually shifting. So if you're really slick on these doors and you're interacting from like the optimal point, excuse me, Maria, you'll get the door before you're even there. So you want to be kind of mindful of that. I did that angle really badly. Let me just do that again to show how I do it. So we'll come through here, and then you want to hold the stick hard left, and you'll get around that corner nice and clean. Nice and nice. And then we grab this, and we grab that, and we head back around. We're going to come through this door, and we just hold kind of left into up for that. Grab the key, bonk into Maria. And for that camera angle change in the hallway, that's a good one to mention. So for these quick camera angle changes, you want to just flick the stick up as soon as you see the camera angle change. If you're kind of slow about it, James might go off in a weird direction. But again, something that you're just going to have to play with by running the game. And then we come over here. Code is 7335. This is a static code. It's always the same. And then we're going to come into this room. I'm going to see little Maria's cutscene. We're going to grab the roof key and straight out the door. And then, again, flick the stick up to get out of those doors when the camera angle changes. There are times where, like, James will do circles. There will also be times where James is stuck going one specific way, and you're, like, wiggling the stick, but James refuses to go any direction. So you kind of just have to figure out which angles are nice and which angles are rude. For this, I almost always fuck this up, but you don't have to run as far as I always do, but you basically want to run to where the camera angle changes right about this crack. That's as far as you need to get for the trigger. I think it specifically starts like right about here, but just to be safe, you want to run to about here, and then we run up here, trigger pyramid head, and boom. Cool. James is thrown off a roof. Right, this is where you want to make sure that you have your RNG up and you're ready to reference it. The codes that we learned earlier are about to be important. So we're going to come through here. Again, we are on seed 124. The clock time was 8:30. We come over here. We're going to do a quick interact. I fucked that up. I can't believe I fucked that up. Let me quick save, or quick load. Where am I? Okay, wait. We're doing this part again. Sorry. I thought I quick saved right before the interaction, but apparently not. Let me just reorient myself. Bang into Maria again. That's not necessary, although it kind of does help, because for this specific category, we're aiming for the leave ending. Here's another thing I should mention. It's up to you whether you want to do it, but during the Pyramid Head fight, at the end of the fight, if you want to pre-position your cursor, and this will vary depending on your version of Enhanced Edition. That's kind of why I was like, I don't know how important it is to mention. Future versions of Enhanced Edition will have the option to center your cursor no matter what position it was last left in. In our case, we are not on that version, and we don't have that setting. So if you wanted to, in the Pyramid Head fight, you can go to load game, because that won't run the timer, and you can position your cursor to like right about here. There's like a little white spot on James's face, and this will make it so when you interact with this, your cursor, I kind of fucked it up, is almost in the right spot. Otherwise, your cursor will usually be around here. It will vary depending on your resolution and your settings and stuff like that. But if you want the cursor to be more central to the button, you can do that strat. Kind of glad we had to restart that section, actually, so I could explain that. So let me grab the key again. We're going to run through here. We're going to trigger Pyramid Head. This is good, too, because now we get a nice, thorough example. Again, you can interact with those doors without being fully in front of them. Trigger Pyramid Head. Skip the cutscenes. Run through here. From this point forward, James will be injured. Do not worry. Enemies in this difficulty can hit you, I think, like 2 or 3 times before it'll kill you. Just, you know, don't dilly-dally. So here, we're going to combine both of these keys so that we can get the interaction at the same time. There's a couple other instances where we're going to be combining key items so that we can use them simultaneously. So here, we're going to combine both of these, and that'll take off both of the locks at first. And again, our code is, or our clock is 8:30, so 38:53 and 86:36. Perfect. We're going to grab this. You can do a quick save coming out of this to give you a little bit of movement. It doesn't really make a difference in Enhanced Edition. It makes a bigger deal in the OG vanilla version. This interaction. So you're going to want to hold down here. Everybody falls for this, but like, this looks like it should maybe work, right? But if okay, it worked. There's a lot of spots where this interaction sucks. Somehow that worked. If I was doing a PB attempt, that would have never worked. No way. But yeah, you don't want to be too far. You don't want to be too close. It's really easy to accidentally angle James incorrectly as you're like entering this room. It's just something that you kind of have to practice. And then we're going to come through here. The loudest plane on the planet is going to fly overhead. So, we're going to be doing a strat on the elevator. It's kind of up to you whether you want to do it or not. It saves I want to say like maybe like 10 seconds, 15 seconds over the course of the whole run. It's kind of important. We're going to be quick saving and quick loading to skip the elevator animations. So normally you have to watch James stand in the elevator. It kind of sucks. If you're on the PC version, we can use quick save and quick load to skip that. This is something that is not covered in Punchy's older tutorial because it wasn't actually known how to do this without breaking the game back then. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into the elevator panel, and what I'm going to do is as soon as, and it's important that you do this with the mouse. If you do this with the controller, it breaks stuff for some reason. So you have to press the button with the mouse. You have to quick save and quick load on the keyboard, I think. No, actually that's a lie. You can quick save and quick load on the controller. That'll be fine. Just make sure you're using the mouse. Do not use the analog stick for this interaction. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit the button and quick save at the same time. And then as soon as possible, we're going to quick load. So button, quick save, quick load. And you'll notice it fades to black and we're already on the floor. So we did it, success. You're going to switch to your shotgun as you're entering that door, the same way that we switched to the chainsaw when we were going to fight Pyramid Head. Just as you're going to the door, just interact. And then let's do Flesh Lips. So pretty easy fight. It's going to start off. The dude's going to be in the perfect spot for us to just immediately shoot him. So you can almost start pre-holding the aim button here. Because as soon as we start this fight, boom, right? And then we're going to take a step forward, and boom. And this should spawn in the next guy. Sometimes the shotgun spread is awful, and that guy doesn't die in one. That's a good example of what can happen. And then you want to be in position. As soon as you see James's head turn, you know he's locked on. You can shoot that, and we're done. Easy. Realism mode, baby. So we're going to get back on the elevator. I'll do it quick this time. So boom, quick save, quick load, and we're instantly at the next floor. And for this angle, you're going to want to hold like down and to the left and then up. It's a weird one. We're going to come here, we're going to grab both of these. Even though we're skipping the bug room and we don't need to use the battery in the flashlight, you have to pick up both key items. It doesn't let you otherwise. This elevator is different. You don't have to, and you don't really want to quick save and quick load on this one. This one, for some reason, the elevator is in a broken state. So as soon as we press the third floor button, it's actually just going to take us to the third floor with the elevator as a skippable cutscene. So press the button and then start pressing your skip cutscene button. So you'll notice the third floor button doesn't light up here. It lights up the door open button. And we get a quick fade out and we're on the third floor. That's how you do the quick save, quick loads on the elevators. These stairs, you're gonna have to practice them. I'm gonna have to practice them. We all gotta practice them. They're a pain. Gonna come in here, interact as quickly as we can.
Mary?
Start the cutscene.
Oh, Marie.
I'm gonna take a quick beverage break.
It's you. I thought you were... Sorry. Anyway, I'm glad you're alive.
Anyway. Alright, and we're going to immediately come down here. Now, I don't know if I'm going to show it off here, but you can interact with this ring from really far away. I like how both of us are just, like, staring at it. Ideally, you don't want to, like, stand on top of it when you interact with it. You can actually hit... See, that wasn't even a good one. You can hit it from very far away. Trust me when I say that. And optimally, this camera angle won't even change when you go for the ladder interaction like that. Some of these ladders have pretty forgiving hitboxes, so you can hit them from pretty far away. You'll need to experiment on your own to sort of figure out the optimal distance, but yeah. Come through this door, and here, this is a tricky camera angle change. It's not as bad in the OG, but since the camera's so fast, it gets a little weird in the enhanced version. But what you want to do is don't hold the camera change button as you're entering the room, otherwise James will just... James will move, actually. Wait. Huh. I learned something today. I think you can just hold it coming in. Yeah, you can. So you want to be holding that button going into that room so that the camera angle instantly changes instead of doing this. You don't want it to do that awkward spin around move. We're gonna come in here. You don't need to quick save, quick load on this elevator because we have the cutscene here, so you can actually just skip this cutscene. Boom. We're We're gonna come out here. Now we gotta go get the other ring. I've seen people take different lines to this fridge. The only important thing is you can't interact with it from behind. You can kind of hit it from like here. So ideally, like if you wanted to, you could run into the room like that and try and hit it like that. It's up to you. It's minor. And again, when you get out of that door, you want to whip the camera around. It's going to be a little disorienting, but... And this is our final quick save, quick load on the elevator. The only reason we can do this one is because we're not going to be using the elevator again. From this point on, the elevator is in a broken state because we have no cutscene that will fix the elevator. So we're going to do one last quick save, quick load. We have broken the elevator. And we're going to immediately come over here, combine these two items when you interact with them. And boom, watch out for Maria. She's going to be body blocking you. And then these stairs are especially tricky because the first two camera angles are a little bit different from the other ones we've seen. And then we're going to come down here. Now, this part, there's no way I can really help in words, but you have to flick the stick with each camera angle change. So you kind of have to memorize which direction you're going to be going in. But more importantly, you have to be firm with your camera angle shifts. So we're going to come through and flick. Come through, flick, come through and flick, come through and not flick. You have to be at least enough that it changes James's camera angle. If you don't flick hard enough, James will just run into the wall like you saw. And boom, easy peasy. We're gonna come over here, grab this, again, another text that we can skip by quick saving. And we have to wait. It's kind of funny, you have movement of James during this, so if you move around, you'll hear James stomping around. And then we're going to skip this text, and this cutscene is where I like to skip for my end of hospital split. Come outside. This cutscene, it's important that you skip it, so just be mashing your skip cutscene button as you come through that door. That cutscene does use IGT, because it brings text up on screen. And now we're just running in the dark. It's up to you if you want to turn off the light during this section. It makes enemies not notice you as much. In beginner difficulty, that's not really an issue. In hard or normal, that is kind of an issue. But we'll just leave it on. This routing, I would recommend for anybody learning this run for the first time, sort of like pay attention to this routing. This is where everybody gets lost. Even old veteran runners get lost sometimes in this section, because everything kind of looks the same. So you just want to follow along this fence and then come across here, go past the car. Again, like shallow lines, kind of important. You want to sort of keep the destination in mind. So we're going to come up to this door, and this is an awkward camera angle shift. You want to hold down as you come in here and then flip the camera around. And in the Enhanced Edition, you have to switch to holding up when you flip the camera around. So you kind of have to, like, time it with the camera angle change so that James is running in the right direction. You don't want that to happen in your run. So, this is an important part. This is the first time we're going to be doing text storage without picking up text that we would naturally find. We can now do mobile text storage. We don't have a map. It doesn't matter. It's too dark to read the map that we don't have. So we can store the "it's too dark to read the map" text on screen anywhere. So we're going to start doing that as soon as we get through that door. And then you're just going to head off with the text stored. This is a part where if you're not using a turbo on your quick save button, you'll want to be pressing this at a relative rhythmic pace, not necessarily mashing it, but you don't want the text to drop at any point during this run. Otherwise, you risk triggering the cutscene that we skipped earlier, where we would have gotten the plank and done our first fight. So that cutscene trigger is still very much active. We're gonna come around here, around the corner to get the wrench. There's an important little optimization here. So once we're around here, we're good to drop the text. When you come up these stairs here, the camera angle is going to shift. You don't want to be like all the way up the stairs, otherwise James is going to bend down to pick up the wrench. You want to kind of be like at the farthest possible interaction distance, still on the stairs. So like right about here is fine. And James will just look down and pick up the wrench. And then once we pick up the wrench, you want to start storing your text again, your map text. Again, that's why it's important that we have something bound to the map button. We don't need it for the map, actually. We just need it for the text itself. And we're going to head around here. And the best way I can recommend to not getting lost around here, the way I sort of oriented it to myself, is just kind of try and keep track of the buildings next to you. So when you get to Bar Neely's, that's when you dip in. And then when we get past this little garbage can, that's when you start going to the left. You want to do a nice shallow left. Yo, Hammy. How's it going, dude? And we want to skip past here, around this corner. And you'll notice there's like these silhouettes while we have the text stored of where cars should be. There's also supposed to be a few enemies creeping around this map, this area of the map. I recommend just keeping this text stored. You should also be mindful of the silhouettes where the cars are. Even though the cars aren't there, they still do have hitboxes, so don't bump into the cars. Just, you know, pay attention to where you're going. And once we get around here, we're good to drop the text. And we can turn on the light again and head through the door. And now we're back to just regular quick saving here. You don't need to store any text or anything like that. You can turn your flashlights off for this these nurses here. It doesn't make much of a difference in beginner. In hard, it does, but yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. And then once we get to Jack's Inn, we're going to Jack's off and run through the parking lot. This camera angle is wild. So you want to be holding the change camera view as you go through that transition. So if you watched my, what's it called? Controller overlay, you would see that I was holding the switch camera view as I was going into that. We're going to come around here, and first we're going to unbury that. You're going to want to instantly skip that black fade out. Usually I end up in the pause screen because I'm sort of mashing it. And then we're going to immediately go into our inventory and use this. And this is an important little skip here. So once we pick up the key, we can actually quick save and we get a little bit of movement out of James. In the vanilla OG version, you get a lot of movement out of James. You can actually like round the entire corner before the fade in happens again. In the enhanced edition, you don't really get as much movement because the fade ins and fade outs are so fast. Hang on, I have to get the cat off the... It's holding the tube. Alright. We're gonna just keep quick saving and running here. Not much to talk about. We're just running in a straight line. If you were uncomfortable about being in a damaged state, I should mention you could have healed after flesh lips if you really wanted to. You don't really need to. There's not much threat in beginner difficulty. I wouldn't sweat it too much. Thanks for adding that. Do you need a cat for the speedrun? Yes. Very, very important. You want to go in a straighter line than I've been going in here. It's a little hard to hold this angle. You'll notice in like enhanced edition, it's a little bit wobbly because the camera reacts so fast. It's almost like there's more degrees of movement in the enhanced edition than the OG, which makes it just a little bit harder to control. It also kind of makes it more precise. Makes it easier to do curves and diagonals instead of sharp 90-degree turns. So just something to keep in mind if you've played the OG. We're gonna come in here. This is a weird camera angle. I'm gonna run into the wall. I didn't mean to do that. Normally holding left gets you the right direction, but I think I entered the door a little weird. You'll just have to figure that one out. And then we're gonna run down the long stairs. Any specific breed of cat? Dumb? Is that our cat's breed? Yeah. A dumb cat. Get a dumb cat. Oh my god, speaking of which. Trying to help with the tutorial. Now he's cleaning his butt. Great. Yeah, just hold in a straight line here. Nothing really to mention. When we go through this door, you're going to want to hold down. A little bit counterintuitive. So go through this door. Start holding down, hold left out of this door, and then we hold right. Ideally, you don't get that camera angle, and we're going to switch weapons as we go through there. And assuming you've been switching weapons the same way that I have, you should have the chainsaw out at this point. So we're going to fall down the well. This is usually where I do this split. And now that we're in the well, this is something that you'll kind of have to figure out the first few runs. So from where James is standing, the spot that we need to go is like down and to the left. So it's right here. You can tell because it has this like little red piece of paper, not to be confused with some of the other pieces of paper around here. It's specifically the one with the little red corner. And what you want to do is you just want to tap the chainsaw into it and immediately interact. And again, we can skip that stumble animation by switching our weapon, and you'll now have the pistol out. We'll be running through here, into this room, and into the bug room. So, bug room skip. This is an important skip. It does save time. It avoids you having to do an RNG puzzle. You can technically bring up the puzzle on Lucky Hill if you wanted to. I don't know, if you wanted to do like some sort of hybrid RNG but not sort of run. What we're going to do is we're going to pick up the key and then quick save. You want to make sure you've actually picked up the key when you quick save. It is very important that you do not quick save too early or too late. Otherwise, you can end up sort of fucking yourself. So, we're going to come over here. We're going to pick up the key. We're going to quick save. And then we're going to quick load. And assuming you did it correctly, you'll be back in the room. The key will be on the floor still. However, the key is also in our inventory. So we're all good. We don't need to deal with the bug room at all. We're going to come over here, interact with this. The hitbox on this door is really, really forgiving. You can be standing almost anywhere and still interact with it. We are going to have a little chat with Eddie. This would also be a good spot to split if you were looking for a spot for prison as a split. We're going to run up here, and we're going to run through here. And you want to keep your flashlight off for this guy, otherwise he's kind of more annoying. We're going to come down here. Again, some hard camera angles to explain on that part. You just got to get used to it. And we're trying to interact with these doors as early as we can. It's a little hard because you can't see them, given some of the angles that we're approaching from. And we'll run in here, grab the clay or the wax doll. We're gonna hope this guy's not body blocking us. Sometimes he's just like stuck in the doorway, and it's awful. And it's the fourth door that we need to interact with here. We're gonna quickly smash it open, and then hold down coming out of this room, and then head in here. This section works a little bit differently in the Enhanced Edition because we don't get as much movement out of quick saving out of this interaction. We're going to come here, we're going to combine all three plates. You don't want to interact with them individually, and we're going to use them. And that'll start putting them in. When the last plate gets put in, I do a quick save. Oh, not like that. I do a quick save like that. And that gives you a little bit of movement, like a little bit from James. That was a really bad example of it. But trust me when I say you want a quick save on the last one for a little bit of movement. And you can use that to start running away immediately. It's a good idea to also rotate the camera as you're running through there, just so you don't hold the wrong direction. We're gonna come in here, grab the lighter really fast, head back out, head over here. Now, this is an important strat that I actually only just learned about. This hitbox is a little finicky. Recommend playing with it, figuring out the optimal spot to stand, because you can actually be pretty far and still interact with it. Hang on. Alright. We're gonna interact, and it's kind of important that we're injured here. It does help, because as soon as we see the red cross symbol in the lower right hand corner, we're gonna quick save and then quick load. So I'm gonna interact, quick save and quick load, and if done correctly, we'll skip the door opening entirely. The hatch will just be immediately open, which means that we can basically just mash A getting out of this. So we're gonna interact, quick save, quick load. It didn't say quick save, but it did. And then the hatch is already open and we're good to go. I did that pretty slowly, just kind of for demonstration, but that's how you skip the hatch opening. We're going to come through these last few doors, head down, come through here. When we interact with this door, as soon as you interact with it the first time, quick save and just start mashing A, and you'll get through it a little bit faster. So, quick save, mash A. That just allows you to start interacting before the fade-in happens. And then we're gonna run over here, and boom, we're on the elevator. Now it is safe to heal. We get a free heal. We get some shotgun shells. You don't really need them. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about them. And we wait. Somebody find a way to skip this. That'd be pretty cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything obvious that I've missed so far. That's about it. I'm sort of making this tutorial with the idea that whoever's watching it has at least played a little bit, or at least like done some learning, or is watching this side by side as they're learning. You had no idea? Dude, I didn't even know until just recently. So we're gonna get out of this elevator. I do my split here. It's a little bit tight timing on that transition. We're gonna come through here. You can turn... Okay, ladder. Some of these ladder hitboxes are a little troll. We hold up as we interact with that first one to get clean movement out of there. And then we're going to whip around. The combo in this difficulty is always going to be the same. It's going to be down... It's going to be whatever I just did. Down, right, down, right. Side, down. Yeah. It's going to be... either side. You can rotate it left, you can rotate it right. It actually doesn't matter. It ends up on the same side anyway. I don't know how that works. But yeah, basically side, down will get you the right combination, and then the door is open. Sorry, my cat is like being ultra menace. I'm gonna run in there, run out of here. This camera angle is a little finicky on Enhanced Edition. I should mention, the hitbox on this ladder sometimes gets in the way. Sometimes when you go to pick up these, or it's more, the wire clippers have the tiniest hitbox on the planet. So sometimes when you go to pick these up, you'll accidentally interact with the ladder. You don't want to do that. You want to interact and then hit the ladder. You can turn your flashlight off for this guy. For this ladder, you don't need to be anywhere near it to interact with it. Yeah, this ladder has the biggest hitbox maybe of anything in the game. You can be like way off on this one. And it's totally fine. So interact with that as early as possible. We're gonna come back around here. We're gonna come over here. As soon as you get within range of it, you don't even need to like bump up against it. We're gonna interact, open up the inventory and use that. I think you do want to skip that cutscene because it's a little faster than watching the fade out. For this angle, just to explain, so we want to go this way and to the right, right? It's a little counterintuitive because when we hit this ladder, I'm holding, see where I'm holding on the, I'm holding like down and to the right on the analog stick. It's something that you'll kind of have to figure out. So we're going to interact and then immediately start holding down and to the right, and that'll get James kind of in that diagonal zone. For this, we shoot him twice. We delay our shot, so we go 1, wait, 2. And that disables his hitbox and allows us to go through him. If you want to YOLO it, you can shoot him once, and sometimes he'll scurry away. It's like 50-50. Sometimes he'll stand in the way, sometimes he'll totally body block you. Again, we have to do some weird camera reversal on that little angle. Remember to wiggle. We push past this dude, thank you very much. You good? Or I just ran in the room. Happened. For this part, really simple movement. Good. What's here? Oh, maybe the here. Sorry, cats. We're gonna come in here. You can actually turn your flashlight off before hitting this ladder. So usually I'll turn it off somewhere around here. and we're going to skip the Angela Abstract Daddy boss fight. So when you come up this ladder, you're going to hold to the right. We're going to do some more mobile text storage. And again, I mentioned storing text removes enemies. For some reason, the door for this boss fight is considered an enemy. So the door, like, is not interactable. It doesn't trigger the cutscene properly, and essentially we can just run past it. You want to drop your text as soon as you get through that hallway, and you're good to go. So you'll reference your RNG sheet here. I know I have Arsonist 3. It's really nice to have the RNG manipulation down for this part, because if you run through this hallway a second time, if you check which one it is, and then you run to do the solution, and then you run to get the key, you'll have enemies spawn in this hallway. And so if you can avoid that, that's kind of ideal. I know we have Arsonist 3, so we're going to pull this rope. The ideal would be to have Arsonist 1. There's only a few good seeds in the Enhanced Edition that have Arsonist 1. I'm going to run this way, totally not run into the wall. And we're going to grab the key. We're going to run back. There's another spot where you can kind of start the interaction a little bit sooner than bumping into the corner. And then we're going to skip this little opening cutscene. Hold, like, down and to the right here, kind of, to get a straight line. And Maria cutscene. Skip that. Head this way. Flick to the left to get James going to the left. Flick to the left to get James going to the left. And one more. Flick. Oh, and totally don't crash into that wall. And we're going to do a little flick to get James going the right direction here. For this part, I just hold down on the D-pad. You just go in a perfectly straight line. If you have something bound to your directionals, sorry, you could probably hold S on the keyboard if you wanted to. Right, so the Eddie fight. When we get through this door, it's going to start the cutscene. Immediately after we skip the cutscene, we want to take a couple steps forward and shoot Eddie once with the pistol. So ideally, we're like as close to the door as possible when we shoot Eddie. You don't want to be too close, otherwise Eddie gets confused and he won't go through the door. So you want to like keep some distance to not freak him out, I guess. So yeah, we're going to go through the door. We're going to walk towards him. Boom. He'll just leave. And then when we go through this door, we're going to do our weapon switch as we go through the door so that we have our shotgun out starting this fight. When we start this fight, Eddie's going to be like kind of right behind the meat. So we need to move a little bit left and diagonal. Ideally, the less you can move here, the better, because you want to get that shot off as soon as possible. But you don't want the shotgun spread to screw your shot over. So, boom. Easy boss fight. And we're going to run through here. Again, that camera angle getting out of that door is a little finicky. I usually wiggle just to be safe. And we're going to get to the boat. How you do the boat is kind of up to you. I do it on the keyboard. You can do it on the D-pad. You can do it on the analog stick. I find the keyboard to be sort of the most consistent. I don't always get this quite perfect, so forgive me if I mess it up right here. But usually I wait for James to rotate the oar twice before I let go of the D key, or right on the analog stick, whatever you want. You want to rotate James to the right 2 splashes. So 1, 2. And then you want to just start holding forward. So you want to let go of the D key. I over-rotated pretty hard. This is where you can start correcting yourself if you over-rotated like me. So now I'm like tapping A to just kind of get him back in the right spot. When was my last quick save? Let's find out. Shit. Alright, well, let's fight Eddie again. I just want to get a clean boat, just for example's sake. That was also a much better arsonist. We'll just do this section again. It's very short. Over here, grab the key. Great. Come over here. I meant to quick save before the boat. I just kind of forgot. Interact. And we skip this cutscene. If you sort of pause buffer out of the skips because you're mashing the cutscene skip button, that's fine. Just make sure you're not mashing it to the point where you're actually losing time. Because every time you come out of the pause, you will lose a little bit of time on the timer. Come over here, around that, click the stick. I forgot. I didn't, yeah, the reason I didn't quick save is because you can't quick save before Eddie. Just do the Eddie fight again real quick. Man, this boss fight takes forever. Such a bummer, dude. Can't believe I have to do Eddie all over again. That was a much better example, too, because we did, like, the best movement in the first area and then the minimal movement in the second area. Alright. So the boat. So we're gonna go 2 rows, about. Like, it's more like 1.5. And then start holding W, because once James is rotating on the boat, you're good to just hold forward. The optimal boat, you don't need to correct your course at all. I rarely ever get that. I could probably work on my timing a little bit better. It's a small difference at its worst, I guess. So 1, 2, and that's honestly, that's good enough. That might have already overshot too. But it's more like 1.5. Oh, that was undershot, so we're just gonna correct it a little bit. Again, doesn't really make too big of a difference, even at its worst. But this ain't getting boat stage world record, baby. Gotta reset. And then I just hold W. You just want to make sure the light is above James's head. Quite simple. So you go right, hold W. Or forward, up on the analog stick, whatever you want. Even if you're a little bit off, you will spend more time trying to correct James's course and get the light like perfectly centered above his head. So if you're just a tiny little bit to the left or the right, it's fine. That camera angle is going to be a nightmare for anybody learning this run for the first time. When you run up to this statue, it won't do it again. And I don't want to quick load, but yeah, it's just something that you got to get used to. You'll bumble around there for a while. Just don't let the camera angle get the better of your brain. And going in that door is also a random camera angle, so you want to do a little wiggle there. You want to pick this up. You can interrupt this cutscene by quick saving. I've been told it loses time, so don't do that. There's no real purpose for it. And I usually split here for the hotel. You can watch a little bit of this cutscene, but eventually when Laura gives you the letter, the timer does start, so you will have to skip it before that happens. We're gonna come down here, and we're gonna do the out of bounds. Hang on a second. The out of bounds is it's a thing. It saves about, I want to say, 1.5 minutes, so I would recommend learning it. It's also sort of the only out of bounds we have. It's the most like swag kind of trick in the game. So we're gonna come down here. You can turn your flashlight off as you're walking down this hallway, and we're gonna once again do the text storage using the map. So we're gonna bring up the map text and then start pressing game saved. And with that, you'll notice that there is no trigger up here anymore. So normally, if we weren't holding text, this would transition us to the next area. I actually went past the transition. That would normally transition us to the next area. So as long as you're storing the text, that transition doesn't exist. Yeah. Good. Right. So what you want to do once you're up here is you want to run kind of along the... I accidentally moved James to the right. You want to run along the seam here. And as long as you're kind of centered right between... And this will take some practice. As long as you're centered between where the stairs are and where the wall is, you should be able to put James in this half in, half out state. If you go a little bit to the left, James, you'll notice he pops right back out. So it's kind of important that you're like centered right along that line. See, if you fall too close while you're facing to the left, James will pop back out. You want to make sure he's like facing center down the line on the stairs. When you're first learning this run, the way I used to do it, if you hold your walk button while you do this, oh, well, I haven't done it in a while like this. If you hold your walk button while you do this, you can actually line James up a lot easier. But when you kind of get fast at it, you can just sort of YOLO it. Of course, I'm doing a terrible job at it right now because I'm trying to show it. There we go. So yeah, you can walk into it if it makes it more consistent for you. It compared to not doing the out of bounds, it'll be faster to walk into it if you need to. Also, what I've noticed is the camera angle gets a little messed up when you're doing it multiple times like that. So sometimes if you're having a lot of frustration when you're practicing it, just going up and coming back down to reset the camera angle to how it'll be seems to help a little bit. You want to come through, fall out right in the middle. If James is too high, this won't work. You want James to be nice and low. This is like, he doesn't need to be this low, but you just don't want him to fall out of bounds too far up, because he can fall out like up here. And then if you're up here where you can see James like in the map like this, you won't be able to do the out of bounds. You won't be able to fall back inbounds correctly. So again, one more time like that, except you don't pop out. Let me just show it theoretically from where you're going to be. You're going to come out of that room. You're going to turn off your light. You come down here. You're going to bring up the map text. You're going to store that text. And then you're going to do this. And that should be fine. Sometimes I make sure I'm low enough. That would have been fine without it. Now, the movement here, once you're out of bounds, is kind of hard for me to explain. Essentially, you want to be moving parallel to the hallway that we just got out of. So you're going to go to the right and then start holding straight. And you'll run James through the darkness for a little bit, but you'll know it's right when the camera angle shifts to this spot. And usually what I do is I move James kind of back and forth once the camera angle shifts, just to make sure James isn't too far off in the distance. And again, when you hear James fall, you can skip the falling animation by switching your weapon out here. So you'll hear him fall, you can switch weapons. And usually I change weapons as I'm going through the door to make sure I have the shotgun out, because the shotgun's the next weapon we're going to need out. Yo, no way, cheap viewers? You gotta be shitting me, dude. We're gonna pick up this stuff. Come over here. This door, a little confusing. You can't interact with it from where the door handle is for whatever reason. You want to be like over here on the side of it. I've seen a lot of people get frustrated at that door. The hitbox for the door is just not where it should be. We're gonna come through here, we're gonna run down past this dude, just squeeze. This movement here takes a little bit of practice, coming in to grab the key without going too deep into the room. We're gonna come this way, and you get the light bulb from the can. Nice quick interaction. And immediately hold coming out of that little animation. And we're gonna come around here, and this part is a little tricky. I just wanted to show, like, ideally you want to just immediately be facing it. When this camera angle change happens here, though, it gets a little bit confusing. So you just want to be lined up in a good enough way. You can turn off your light for this guy, it doesn't matter. He tends to body block for some reason. And we're gonna come up here. Thank you for getting those terms. We're going to interact with this. Again, once we pick up the key, we can quick save and start holding down, and that'll actually give us a little bit of movement there. I think we want to be holding down and to the right to get as close to the door as possible. We're just going to come through here, interact with this. Again, reference your RNG chart. I know my code is dark. The way I usually try and do these is I try and interact with two of them at the same time. I kind of like switch between the two. But yeah, you can do them one at a time, it doesn't matter. Gonna come through here, try and not get stuck on that wall like I just did. Come down here. This camera angle change is always a little weird. It's a good idea to just wiggle. And we're gonna do Cinderella, Snow White, and Mermaid. And as soon as we put that last one in and interact, we save. And by quick saving, it gives us movement of James, so we can actually position him by this door in advance. We can interact with the door, grab the key, head back out of the door. Remember to pick up this key. Don't forget that. It's important. We're gonna come back up here. Heading up here. This is a bit of a weird camera shift right there. And we're gonna come over here. This hitbox for the VHS tape is a pain. My best advice is just run into the room a bunch and try and line yourself up as best as you can. There's no better advice. When you come out of this room and when you go into this room, you want to be behind the recliner. Don't go around like this. I have seen people do that. If you were doing dog ending, this is where you would run over here and end the run, but we are not. We're gonna come this way, do a little camera rotate for that one. You want to use this door, and then you want to use this door. There's another way to get out of this hallway. That's the fastest way as far as I know. And we're gonna come around here, use the elevator, which is behind us on the wall. You can quick save to gain control of James out of this elevator. I know it's a thing that saves time in the OG. I think since the transitions are so fast, it's like a very minor time save. So what you can do for this elevator is you can press the button and then immediately skip the cutscene. And that gets you out of it pretty quick. We're gonna come back through the bar. Do a little camera angle flick. I did it very poorly. You might get body blocked by that guy. Sometimes he's in front of the door. Sometimes he's just in the middle of the hallway. Kind of weird. We're gonna immediately head up to get out of that room. I can use which glitch? Quick saving and quick loading? It is most definitely allowed. Quick loading is only allowed in certain spots. Oh, the out of bounds. Yeah, the out of bounds is allowed. Totally. Yeah. Alright, so the double pyramid head fight. If you're a little too soon with your shots, this will take 3 shots. Sometimes 4 if you're really early with it, and the spread is just bad. You want to wait until the animation of the attack is like... It's not like 50% done, but maybe like 45% done. So I'll just show it. You want to wait for the attack and then shoot. Wait for the attack and then shoot. I did it wrong, of course, but that's basically what you want to do. Let me do it one more time. Let me do it correctly. You want to also get relatively close. I think I was too far away from him that time. There we go. And if you do it like that, it only takes 2 shots. Nice and easy. You also don't want to get too close when they're getting in position, because they will stop and attack you. You want to grab one egg, you want to grab the other egg. Over here. I always interact. It doesn't matter which order you put these in. I always interact with these. Moving one extra spot by accident. Don't worry about it. Want to come through here. Through this door. There's another room where I just hold down on the D-pad. Nice and simple.
Mary?
What do you want, James?
I brought you some flowers.
Flowers? I don't want any damn flowers. Just go home.
Oh, also, I usually split when we watch the videotape. I forgot to do it on this run.
Disgusting.
No big deal. You almost don't even need that split. So, these stairs. These stairs are tricky. In the OG, we go into tank controls and strafe up them, basically. In Enhanced Edition, they're a little bit nicer, but not super nice. So James still gets, like, stopped sometimes as you're running up the stairs, but for the most part, as long as you're firm about your directionals and you don't, like, wiggle it too much, he should go up nice and smooth. Of course, this is the smoothest I've ever seen him go up. But normally he'll bump into the side and kind of like slow himself. That was a perfect staircase. I don't know how that happened. Another thing I should mention, leave ending is sort of the fastest ending, only because you can skip the end credits faster than any of the other endings. It's really minor. It's like a second or so. But you'll notice when we get to the end of the run, I have to skip the cutscenes for the credits because some of the music credits don't use the timer, but the letter and all the other stuff that comes in between it does run the timer. So we want to get out of that cutscene as soon as possible, and we want to get to the stats screen. So this fight's really, really simple. We're going to start the fight. We're going to shoot her once, sometimes twice. And then we're going to end her with the pistol. You can end her with the shotgun. It's just a little bit faster to aim with the pistol. So start the fight. We're going to run up to her once, twice. Sometimes she'll grab you if you're too close like that. And then we're going to swap to the pistol. Boom. GG. This cutscene doesn't run the timer, but everything that comes after it and between it does. So we're going to quickly skip out of this. And boom. GG. That is how you do Silent Hill 2 Enhanced Edition.
Groovy.
Not a great boat stage time, but you get the idea. But yeah, I hope this helps somebody. If you're watching this on YouTube and it helped, good. If you have more questions, come hang out in the Twitch chat, and I will be glad to answer them. I think that was pretty thorough.